Just...
And we are on. Welcome back to the podcast from Nobody Cares About Dad. This week, as ever, joined by Martin. Martin, how you doing?
All good, mate. All good.
Yeah. Knackered. So as we record this, it's Sunday night. I was going to say I've played football today, but I've played the football appallingly badly today.
We're talking about you or Man United?
Both, like, equally as bad. Actually, if you can believe this, I was probably worse than Man United yesterday. Yeah, so yeah, but that we'll save that. We'll save that for another night. Yeah, I'm putting it down to having COVID for a couple of weeks, and I'm not playing, so that's my excuse, and I am sticking with it.
Yeah, I played really well at football today.
Did you play? Do you play?
Anyway, so the weather's been nice.
Well, if you are watching on YouTube, please do hit that like and subscribe button. And also, this podcast is sponsored by Manscaped. So for 20% off freshness for your balls, use our code NCAD20.
All about those fresh balls.
You
weren't pinging in the box today.
What's that?
Which you weren't pinging in the box today. No fresh balls for you today, pinging in the box.
No, unfortunately not. Well, look, tonight we are changing up a little bit, actually. So tonight we're doing a podcast on being gay in today's society. Now, despite major changes in laws and norms surrounding the issue of same-sex marriage and the rights of LGBT people around the world, public opinion on the acceptance of homosexuality in society remains sharply divided by country and largely by age, with the younger people in society being more open and accepting compared to middle-aged folk like me and you, Martin, and older folk. So today's podcast, we discuss what it's like to be gay in today's world. Is it getting better? Is it any worse? Or is it largely the same? Now, Martin, let me just say that I am really pleased that you chose this podcast to come out as gay on.
There are a lot of gentlemen in the world right now. They're getting very excited. But I'm not, I'm afraid. I'm sorry. We have made the choice to bring on a guest.
Yeah, so rather than two, what are we, cis males?
No, that's, heterosexual.
Yeah.
Or cis males, if we're talking in the transgender world.
Yeah. So rather than having two straight blokes, preach to you about what it's like, I thought we'd bring somebody on. So today, making her podcast debut.
Drum roll, please.
Any podcast, I'm told, is my little sister, Hannah.
Yay! Yeah, guys.
How you doing?
You're not bad.
Yeah.
How are you both?
Good. We
fresh as a daisy, not ill, no cold, no nothing. What about you two?
I'm sniffling a lot today, put it that way. Sniffing a lot.
No. Well, look, appreciate you coming on, Hannah. And like I say, it's the first time coming on this podcast and coming on any podcast, I think you mentioned previously.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, I think you probably have a really interesting perspective on this because you obviously are gay now, but you weren't always.
Yeah.
So quite interested to hear your opinion on being in both. I want to say camps, which is, you know what I mean, being in both camps.
Start with your story about you being about the transition.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. Like, this is the first time we've met.
Yeah.
So obviously Marco or Mark, whichever way you want to call him, has got an understanding of your life. So yeah, You want to tell us about it?
To be honest, my story is quite unique. So
we like unique on this channel.
Yeah, I think it's pretty unique. So I think I went up until uni when I was about 21. I've always been with guys. I was in a really long-term relationship with a guy for about 4.5 years. Pretty serious. Stop. You liked him.
If you're watching this,
he definitely
told you.
This the Asian dude.
No.
Oh.
No. I was only with him for 6 months.
Oh,
that one. Yeah.
Oh, hang on.
So anyway.
We're getting these guys mixed up.
Who was this one? What's he called?
Gabriel.
Oh, yeah, I like Gabriel.
Right, see, told you.
We retract the wanker.
Yeah. In reverse.
So I was with Gabriel for a while, and then we broke up just as we finished uni. And I was with guys on and off, but then I started a football team, which it tends to be the typical story these days. I joined the girls' football team, and I met Chloe, my now partner. And to be honest, we didn't really speak that much when we first met each other. She was really quiet. I thought she was straight at first because by looking at her, you wouldn't think that she was like your typical lesbian. And then we went on a couple of nights out, and then we got to know each other a little bit more. And then it was a really weird 2 to 3 months where I was in my own head, like really confused. Like, what does this mean? I couldn't tell anyone because I felt like I was really unsure about taking it long term. Neither of us thought that it was going to be a longer term thing, just having a bit of fun. But then it got to a point after like 6 months and we thought, oh God, this actually means something. I don't know if you remember, Marco, but I actually called you. I was in River Island doing Christmas shopping, and I called you and I told you. I couldn't even tell you in person because I was mortified. Honestly, I was absolutely mortified. And I just remember telling you over the phone, and you were like, really? You seemed dead shocked.
What? I don't remember it like that.
Yeah.
No.
What do you remember?
I remember it was like going, yeah, we always knew.
What? Rob, was it you or Rob that had that reaction then? One of you was like, what the hell? This is just a phase. It must have been Rob.
Definitely wasn't me.
Was it not you?
No, I remember. Because so for context, anyone listening to this, so what I have through my mum, I have 2 sisters and a brother. Yeah. Rachel is a lesbian. Yeah. Robert is gay. But growing up, if you'd have said anyone would have been a lesbian,
it would have been me.
It would have been Hannah.
Only because I was a proper tomboy though. Like I loved football. I had my hair slicked back all the time.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I've met Rob. I know Rob. And now met you, and I would have thought it would have been Marco.
I mean, people say this now. But yes, I remember calling you about it. I didn't tell Rachel.
Why were you say you were nervous about telling like your family?
I don't know. I don't think I wanted to believe it at first. Oddly enough, I didn't accept it myself.
I think as well, Martin, like, again, for more context, I wasn't really that accepting of it.
You weren't that keen with Rach and Rob, to be fair, at first.
No, so...
which is probably why I called you rather than told you face to face.
So we grew up Catholic family. Mum was Catholic. We went to church when we were younger. And I think... Now, our mum got ill when you guys were growing into adolescence, right? Is that the right word? Term adolescence, teenagers.
Yeah.
So I don't think she really saw what happened with all of you. But I think there was always a concern, not a concern, but I think that she wouldn't accept it. Yeah,
definitely. I never told my mum. I used to visit her constantly every weekend at a nursing home. And I never, ever told her until obviously when she passed, I then told her. It was a really weird experience, to be fair.
I guess this sort of comes back to what I was saying at the start, where I said it's divided by country, but also age, because it was a lot of older people. It's the same with race, right? A lot of older people are racist than younger people. And I think that was just not making an excuse for her, but that was a generational thing from her to be like.
Well, I get that. My brother, so my younger brother's gay. He lives with his partner, and if in all of our family, I've got a younger sister and a younger brother, and throughout all of our growing up, I was the one that was always going to be gay. Like family, friend, they were like Martin, but my brother not. And my dad was old school army. His thought process used to be, in the army, gays shouldn't be in the army. Mm-hmm. And I remember having a conversation with him once about it, and I was like, why? And he was like, if you're on the front line and you've got Brad and Steve are a couple and Brad gets shot, I want Steve to be focusing on shooting back, not focusing on Brad.
Right.
Being Hannah, do you remember Chris Rock when he talked about gays in the military?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that the same?
He's like, let him do it because I ain't fighting.
Yeah, he says, there's a big thing about homosexuals in the military. He says, but if they want to fight, let them fight. Because I ain't fighting. He said, I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit if I saw a Russian tank rolling down Flatbush Avenue. I ain't shooting nobody. But don't be a faggot. He said, when the war's over, I'll be the faggot with two legs.
My dad had to change very quickly,
right?
And thankfully became very receptive. And my brother's partner Andrew is part of the family now. Obviously, my dad passed away, but it was interesting to see an older generation have that opinion for such a long time and then change. And it was nice to see, because there are people out there that
wouldn't change.
Yeah.
Ostracized there.
And I think I'm also like that. My opinion's changed over the years. I was very much in the same camp as my mum. Like, I was like, it's Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve, and it's not the way it should be. So I've written a blog about it recently where I say I'm not ashamed to admit that I had a problem with it when I was younger. So I imagine that what a lot of your trepidation, Hannah, would have been to do with what you thought my reaction would probably be
definitely.
To it. Yeah.
Have you two always been close?
Not when we were younger, to be fair. We used to fight like cat and dog when we were living in the same house, weren't we? Yeah. But I think since I moved to uni and I moved to Manchester, Marco was already there, we just got really close over the last however many years. So I'd say we're really close now.
So your closeness became closer before you came out.
Yeah.
So obviously you've got that fear that that Marco's opinion in the past.
You won't accept it. Yeah.
And all of a sudden it's
that just goes.
Yeah, and it's just, well, my brother didn't tell me. My brother didn't tell me he was gay. He went to university. Sounds like university is a common denominator here. I found out by my mum ringing me up and going, "Have you seen your brother's Instagram?" I was like, "No," and she was like, "Yeah, it's a picture of him and his partner at the time in bed here or something." So I rang him up and I was like, "Got something to tell me?" And he was like, "I didn't want to tell you." And I was like, "Why would?"
Really?
Because of the same thing. He was like,
"I
was worried your opinion would change." And I'm very close with my brother. He's my little baby brother. We've always been close. And I was like, as long as you're not sleeping with kids or animals, I don't really care. It makes no difference to me. And he was like, "That's a weight off my shoulder," because I was the last person to know, and I was really upset.
Right.
Like it really hurt to be the last person to know because I'm so close with him. But yeah.
Han, did you, obviously you sort of came out when obviously Chloe came on the scene, but did you always know, or was there always
everyone asks me this because I was dead sporty. Like in my group of high school friends, they were all really girly, and I was like the one mad into sports. I wasn't interested in boys. I don't know. I've never felt that way towards girls before. It's only ever been guys.
Even when obviously you played in football teams, and most of your friends in those teams,
100%. All my friends that I hung out with were all most like 90% were lesbian. A lot of them were together in the teams I played with, but I never, because I was always in a relationship. I wasn't really single that often. I was always with a guy. And it got to the point where I was just like, I don't care what people think anymore. And that's the one thing I think that was keeping me away from just going for it. Because everyone asks, like, I can't believe you've just gone from this to this. And like, you've just done it. You just made that decision. Like, a lot of my friends were like, I don't think I could have done that and been that bold about it. But I think I just stopped giving a shit about what people think, to be fair. And I just went with the decision.
Are you still in contact with like exes like Gabriel and stuff like that?
Not so much now, but like, I don't know, a couple of years ago, he'd text on my birthday to say happy birthday. He knew how ill mum was. He used to visit her a couple of times with me. And even on like my mum's birthday, he would message and say happy birthday to your mum. And it was just nice. And it ended amicably, which is why probably that carried on a little bit.
Yeah. Did you ever have a conversation? Obviously, because, you know, I can only reference Gabriel because he's the only one I know, but he was your longtime partner. And then obviously, I don't know how long after you guys had split that you obviously started dating Chloe. That must have been interesting for him.
We never talked about it. No, we never. I mean, I'd say it was a couple of years between. Right. And I was with another guy just before I got with Chloe. And to be honest, I didn't have that conversation with him either because I just thought it'd be so awkward for him as well as me. I couldn't have that conversation.
Yeah. Did you ever, so up until obviously Chloe and the football TV started, before that, obviously you were dating men. Did you ever feel like there was obviously
something missing?
Yeah, like was
no, oddly no. When I look back now, no, it's a really weird one, right? Because people are like, oh, you're one thing or another. You like guys or you like girls. A lot of people like to label you as you're a lesbian now, or you were straight then, or you must be bi because you still like both.
Yeah.
And I just got to the point where I was like, I don't care about the labels anymore. I was just like, it's weird. I don't right now class myself as a lesbian, even though on paper I should be. Because
so what do you class?
I don't like to put myself in any label. I'm quite fluid in that I still find guys attractive, but I've chosen to fall in love with Chloe, who happens to be a girl, and that's who I've decided to spend the rest of my life with. 100%. And a lot of people struggle to understand that. They think it has to be one of three boxes, whereas I'm like, does it? And who cares if it's neither of those three?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, no, it's obviously, you know, my brother's, like I said, but I know I've got gay friends and stuff, and I've spoken to them about it, and some have said it's not the gender. The gender is irrelevant. It's that person. And the only way I can compare it to for other people to probably understand is your friendships. You know, I have friendships with men and women. I have very close friendships with females that are beautiful ladies that I'm not attracted to. My friends. And it's you can have a connection with people, and gender is irrelevant of that connection.
Yeah.
So that's
Hannah, do you think that's fairly common or not common? So obviously you will socialise and you've played football with a lot of gay people, but do you think is it? So I think it's obvious that there are more fully gay people than bisexual.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that's changed in recent times? Because just for me on the outside, looking at everything that's happening, I feel like it's definitely become more fluid in the last 10 years, let's say.
Yeah.
Whereas it was either, I think before it was either one or the other. You were either gay or you were straight.
Yeah.
People should be down saying that, but I think generally speaking, I think that's what it was like. But now I think like you see more and more people that would classify more like yourself. And
more of my friends are similar to me in that respect.
Okay.
Like it's not necessarily the gender. It's if you fall in love with a person, it happens to be male or female. It is what it is.
Not, is she?
No, so Chloe's always been gay. She's only ever been with girls before.
Yeah.
So she's never been with guys. And I think she was fairly hesitant to begin with as well, because obviously I think she thought deep down, like, what if I just, after a couple of months, just think, oh, I'll go back to boys again. She was always was a bit nervous at the is it a phase?
Because a lot of people say that girls have that phase, whether they like to admit it or not. I don't know if it's true. I'm not a female, but you hear lots of people saying that that women have had that part of their life where they question.
Yeah. And a lot of it is at uni. People just like, they've got no inhibitions. They're out for 3 years in a new city. They go out a lot, and they just think, let's just have fun. Yeah.
So that's understandable on Chloe's part, because obviously, I can imagine she's seen women, ladies coming into the gay scene, having a dabble. I'm trying to be very diplomatic here.
We like diplomatic. Just spit it out.
Just go for it.
I want to have a go. I want to be a bit crazy. Give it a go. It's not my scene. I'm out. Back. But then on the flip side, how does Chloe know that she's not? This is a question I've always wanted to ask. If you've never been with a man, how do you know?
How do you know you're not gay? It's the same question.
It's a very valid question.
Yeah.
Very valid. I don't.
It's not. I mean, it should be really simple. Right? I don't fancy men.
It's just the attraction. She's just not interested in guys.
Fair point. All right.
I think we might be coming out tonight. I can't tell you why. Yeah.
Yeah, I do think it's the attraction.
I think it is, because I'm. There's never been a single dude that I've ever looked at and thought.
Yeah.
I mean, I admit Ryan Reynolds is a fucking good-looking guy.
Yeah, but you don't want to rip his clothes off, do you?
No, but he's still a good-looking. I can admit he's a good-looking dude. Like, if I had to be gay, I'd like it'd be with him. It'd be about the only person that I could ever like. But he's definitely the man crush material. Oh, come on, Mark! You've definitely got a man crush.
No. There's men that you could look at and go, "Fuck yeah, he's a good-looking dude."
Yeah.
Oh, there is.
Ryan Reynolds is definitely one of them guys that's like, yeah, I'd swap places and beat him any day of the week. He's that bored and old.
Yeah, is there many people you wouldn't swap places with? Celebrities, I mean.
After your footballing talk earlier, you.
Fair one. Han, did you lose any friends, Han, since coming out or not?
I wouldn't say I lost any, but a couple of friends that would reach out stopped, if that made sense. So like a couple of friends that I used to work with at Hollister and a couple of places after that, they just didn't, where they'd normally comment on a picture or see how you're doing and checking in. I had less of that. And at that point, after about 6 months, I was like really confident with who I was. Like, it was all over social media. I didn't have an issue posting a picture with Chloe with a love heart. Like, I just didn't care anymore. But you just notice less people in this group engaging with you. It might have been just because it was over time and you just stopped talking to these people. It could have been that they were like, oh, wow, she's gay. I don't think it was that malicious, but the majority of people, to be fair, were really supportive. But the majority of people that I know have a lot of lesbian friends. So it was quite easy.
Have your circles of friendship circles changed dramatically because of your sexual preference?
I don't think so, I wouldn't say so, no.
I feel like I'm being interrogated here.
You are?
I feel like I'm interrogating you here.
They didn't, to be fair. A lot of my circles stayed the same. It is funny, though, when I started working at my current work now, which was Taste Card at the time, I didn't tell anyone that I was gay straight away because I didn't want to be like labeled a certain way. There was a lot of guys that worked there, a lot of good looking guys. I don't know. I didn't want to be like put into a box and like not be spoken to about this or that. So I just didn't tell anyone for a while. And then as I got more friends, I got more confident with people. I then started telling people I was gay, and I'd get like really shocked looks like, oh my God, have you not told us? Da, 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 da. And now it's become so accepted. Like, I can have a conversation about Chloe on the office floor and not even be worried about what I'm saying. I don't even care anymore. Whereas 6 years ago, I was I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it.
Have you ever been subjected to any homophobia?
I don't think I have, you know. I'm trying to think.
Funny looks, or
I mean, well, when you're walking down the street and you're holding each other's hand and you're walking past a group of kids, you often get like shouts, "Oh my God, they're gay." And these are like young kids. These are like 14, 15-year-olds. It tends to be those lot that look at you a bit funny, whereas people my age and even a little bit older than me don't even like think twice. They just like smile, or they don't say anything. Like they wouldn't have a different reaction. But it's weird. Like Chloe's from Shrewsbury, which is it's quite white. It's middle class. It's not. I wouldn't say it's got even a gay scene. So I wouldn't even hold Chloe's hand in Shrewsbury, which is mad. Not in like the town centre, even now, because I feel like we'd get stares.
You'd actively make that conscious decision not to.
Yeah, I just wouldn't do it. We'd walk close together, but we wouldn't really actively hold hands because you're worried that you're going to offend some older people, because there's a lot more older generation there, a lot more retired people there, and you're kind of expecting a different reaction.
Do you give a fuck what they think, though?
I was going to say, why do you care?
Yeah.
I don't know. You know what? I don't know.
That's a them problem.
Yeah.
So fuck them. That's my opinion. But on the flip side, I'm not in that position. So it's easy for me to say fuck them, because I'm not the one that the backlash could come to.
And I don't even think they'd be that negative, even if they did see it. But for some reason, I just, like in Manchester, no problem. We'll be walking down the street, going to Town Trafford Centre, because I feel like Manchester's already accepting place, because there's a lot of gay people. There's a big gay scene.
Yeah.
For some reason in Shrewsbury, I just haven't got to that point yet where I don't care what people think.
Would you feel uncomfortable booking a holiday?
Oh my God.
So Dubai, for example.
I'd never go there.
Where?
And I'd have to research Dubai. I'd have to research beforehand what their stance is on like gay relationships, because there's a couple of countries that are like, nah.
I've got a story. What?
See what I did here? Linked. I was setting that route up.
What route?
To the map.
Oh, good link. I totally screwed that up. So we'll try it again. But basically, what I was going to tell you was I was going to tell you a story. It's somebody you know, actually, Hannah, and I won't say who on this podcast, because somebody told me about this recently. But they are a gay couple. They have kids, and they recently went to Egypt.
Right.
Do you know where this is? No. Right. So they went to Egypt, went to this hotel, and after about a day of them being there, the hotel came to them and said, "Oh, are you gay?" And they said, "Yeah." And they said, "You've got to leave." Kick them out.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd never go to Egypt either. There's a handful of countries that are just like a definite.
Well, it's the Muslim countries, right? The Muslim countries have the biggest problem with that.
Yeah.
See, this is something that I've been to Dubai, and I was shocked at how free Dubai actually is. How it's not as bad
as people think.
People think from from our side, from here. Obviously, Dubai.
I don't know, mate. I've seen stories of people being put to prison for touching the back of somebody in a bar.
This is the thing. Like Dubai, you hear the stories, and I've got friends that live in Dubai. And when I was out there, the friend I went to stay with had friends through his work, and one of them was gay. And I was like shocked, and he was like, "Mate, there's a massive gay scene out here."
Really?
Yeah, massive gay scene out here. He goes,
wow.
But then drinking is frowned upon. I missed my flight home because I was pissed. Like I was at bars and clubs.
Well, you can drink in the hotels, can't you?
Yeah, but there's a massive WhatsApp community where people.
It says here. I just googled Dubai gay scene, and it's homosexuality is a crime in Dubai.
I think that's the biggest thing for me. The fact that it's illegal would put me off straight away from even thinking about Dubai.
It says there does exist an underground gay scene, and it's largely expat population.
Yeah, but it's so again, I had this conversation with the guy, my friend from Dubai, talking about it, because I said, because I was worried about going over there because I'm an idiot. I am an idiot. I would be that guy in a club that takes his top off. Like that sort of like I just
throws water over a shake.
Yeah, well, it's more of a shake, but I have with one of my mates on a night out, and I said, and he was like, mate, the stories you hear are of people that have took the piss and overstepped the line big time. He goes, but it's not that. It's not what people think. It is, people are walking around in shorts and t-shirts and flip-flop, beautiful women dressed in what you'd wear here. So it's not as bad as people think, but don't go walking like you're doing in
But that's on the surface of it, because but opinion of what these people will think talking to you and being with you is completely against. They do that because they want the Western money, they want the Western luxury, they want the Western tourism, they want all that, so they have to be on the surface liberal. When you scratch the surface, like I say, it's still a crime. It's still a crime to be gay in Dubai. But okay, so segueing into what Martin was trying to segue into earlier, Hannah, I found this map. It's from a Pew Research, and it shows. I'll just pop it on the screen. It shows what parts of the world are accepting and not accepting of homosexuality, and
it's so interesting.
Out of 100, so the scores out of 100.
Should we test? See, do a little what your percentage thinks before, because you've got the screen.
Sure.
Maybe ask a couple of countries and say what kind of percentage.
Okay, let's do that then. Let's have a little bit of a quiz.
You're gay.
Your gay quiz. Hold on.
Oh wow.
I can't hear that. So what was the number?
Oh, it was all right. It worked. It worked.
Right. Percentage of the world, we have Martin and Hannah.
Okay, so out of 100, what would you say the UK is?
So what are you saying, a percentage I need to say?
Yeah,
or...
a percentage of acceptance.
Acceptance.
Okay. In the UK.
Yeah. Now this is just before anyone jumps on this. This is the Pew Research Centre, so a well-respected source of data.
Okay.
Yeah. So come on, UK.
75%.
Mine.
89.
86% is actually the UK. Yeah.
Wow.
It's actually one of the highest in the world, believe it or not.
Wow.
Do we want to take a guess where the highest in the world is?
America.
No.
Canada.
Spain.
No.
Sweden.
Wow.
Sweden at 94% acceptance rate. And second is the Netherlands at 92%.
Wow.
They're all stoned.
You mentioned the US, Hannah.
Yeah.
The US is actually only 72%. It's actually one of the lowest in the Western world, actually.
Wow.
The US.
So
I'm surprised at that.
Let me pop it up on the screen. There we go. So
Egypt,
Australia,
Saudi Arabia, Jordan.
You see where it's white, there's zero.
Chad.
Yeah, and as you can see, mostly the Muslim countries, the African
Caribbean, completely smashed out there.
Yeah.
Colombia, Peru, Chile.
Is that Japan that's got quite high?
68, yeah.
And that's a shock as well, to be honest.
So Papua New Guinea, 0.
I'm surprised Russia's got any, to be honest.
14 is quite high for me.
Yeah, I thought 14 was pretty high for Russia.
I think what's quite interesting about this map
China
is that if you look at most of the Western countries, or what we would call the Western world, seems to be fairly liberal, fairly accepting of homosexuality, whereas the rest of the world, where they're the dictator run, a lot less freedom.
Yeah,
it isn't accepted at all.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah, it was interesting. What I found it weird that Thailand isn't on there, because most of them are ladyboys.
Unless they just don't want to believe it.
Yeah, but the Philippines is on there, 73%.
Wow.
But yeah, so look, Australia, US, Canada, France, Italy, Spain, UK, Holland, Germany, most of the Western, like
usual
I said, Western
suspects.
world.
Yeah. And that's where we'd probably go on holiday. It'd be Europe, this side of Europe, or it'd be America or Australia.
Yeah.
Where was the last place you went on holiday as a couple?
Croatia, I think it was. We've been to a couple of UK holidays, obviously, since COVID. Croatia we went.
Not on the list.
As in, it's got 0, or is it just not on there?
Yeah, whether it's not on there because it's 0 or not, but there's no.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was you? Well, let's talk about it. Was you openly?
Yeah. We were holding hands. We were openly affectionate, and we didn't get any stares. No issues. I mean, there was loads of tourists there. We went to Dubrovnik, so that's quite a tourist-heavy place. But yeah, it seemed absolutely fine. We didn't get any issues.
Well, in Dubrovnik, brothers and sisters have sex anyway. So,
do they?
Game of Thrones reference.
Which episode's that? So I've just restarted.
King's Landing, isn't it? It's filmed in Dubrovnik.
Oh, is it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. I've literally just started Game of Thrones.
Have
you? Yeah.
You've literally just started Game of Thrones.
Before.
Oh,
he said again.
So
this is another time.
That big word again.
I'd have been more shocked at that than you coming out as gay tonight.
There are people that haven't seen Game of Thrones.
To be fair, I've not seen the full thing, so watch before you say it.
They're called weirdos.
Yeah, it's So I've just started it again. To be fair, just watched Bran get pushed out the window because of incest with Jamie and Cersei's
in the tower. Yeah, cool. How did you do you think your relationship with Rachel and Robert changed when you came out? Your other two gay.
With Rachel, yeah, I feel like me and Rachel got a bit closer.
Rachel's gay as well.
Yeah. But again, she used to always date guys back in high school. She was really girly, so she had, did a makeup all the time, had long straight hair. Not that makes any difference, but she was always super girly. But you just wouldn't think.
No.
And it was a shock that she was gay first, to be honest. But yeah, I think we got a bit closer actually, and I think we're closer now probably because of it as well. It was Rob that had a hard time with it initially. He couldn't get his head around it. He was like, "Oh, it's just a phase. It's just a phase."
Robert always.
Yeah. You knew from a young age, I think.
I've met Robert, and you can tell from the persona and his demeanour, and that.
Has he ever dated girls? I don't think he has he?
I don't know if he's dated girls. I know he's been with girls every now and again. But I've never been introduced to a girlfriend, for example. Yeah. I've only ever been introduced to a boyfriend more recently. But no, to be fair,
we definitely always knew. We never thought Rachel, and Hannah was always like, could be.
On the fence. Yeah. But no, it's true. It is true. A lot of my friends that I grew up with, I don't think any of them were shocked that I became a lesbian, because they just always saw football and my hair up, and they just assumed that one day it would happen. One day.
So look, talk to us, obviously, because it's something you're going through at the moment, but obviously when same-sex couples, lesbians in this instance, want to start a family, talk to us about that. Obviously, I know you're obviously trying to go through it at the moment. Talk to us about the struggles with doing that, because obviously you can't do it the normal way. So what are the options?
Are you trying to?
You literally actively, yeah. We've been trying for about a year and a half now, and it's probably been the hardest, especially the last 6 months have been the hardest. Firstly, it's so expensive.
Okay, so you're going down the right route.
Yeah. The more formal route. So you've got one version that's a bit more available to people, and they just kind of like go for it and hope for the best. Whereas the route we've gone down is on paper the highest rates. We go through a clinic. So I think the other route is you just find I don't want to say it, like a friend that's happy to be a sperm donor, and you do get the sperm at home and you do the thing and you hope for the best, but there's nothing. Basically, yeah. We didn't want to do that, obviously. There's other routes to go through. And there's some advantages of using a clinic. For example, using a private clinic means that both of your names will be on the birth certificate. It means that you get top quality sperm donors. They're all checked. It is really expensive. That's probably been the hardest bit. And just the process is really difficult as well.
Can you talk us? Obviously, I know of the turkey baster process.
Yeah.
We all know what that is. What is the process? If you're happy to discuss.
So I guess there's two parts. So for someone like me, who I was about 28 at the time when we first started doing the tests.
How old are you now?
31.
Okay.
So there's something called IUI and there's something called IVF. You've probably heard of IVF. IUI is the less invasive option. So you don't have to have the egg collection. What happens is every month when you ovulate, you go into the clinic a few days later and they inject you with the donor sperm at the right time of ovulation and just kind of hope for the best. And the sperm and the egg needs to meet and do its thing. So we were almost not pushed into that, but we were guided into that because my test results were really positive. There was nothing glaringly obvious why IUI wouldn't work. The average is that it works on like the third or fourth attempt. So we just kind of went for it and thought, rather than go straight to IVF, we'll do this first. I mean, in hindsight, it's a lovely thing. We probably would have gone straight for IVF, but IUI is really emotionally tough because every month you gear yourself up for this process and you've got to do everything in your head to make it work and almost believing that you're pregnant before you are, just to kind of help things along the way. And out of the 6 goes, we were lucky 4 times. And the longest we got to was just before the 7-week scan. And unfortunately, it didn't stick. We lost it really early on. But yeah, it's just been an absolute roller coaster emotionally. Like, it's been really up and down. Add to the fact that it's really expensive. It's just a bit crap. You've basically got one chance every month for it to all align perfectly, and it's very it's very not common.
And how does that compare because obviously you're having to fund it yourself, but a same-sex couple, do they also have to fund it, or is it would the NHS do that for them?
So we were told after our 6 failed goes, we were told to contact the NHS because for some people you can get it free. You can get IVF for free with the NHS after so many goes. Now, I believe it's all location dependent. So in Manchester, in Greater Manchester, straight couples, I think, can do IUI 3 times and then they get IVF for free. The case for us, where we live, we would only be eligible for NHS funding after 12 failed IUIs.
Wow.
So that would be another, and that's 8,000 just for 6. That would be another 8,000 for another 6 in the hope that it would work. And if that didn't work, then we'd get IVF for free. It's mad.
So, going back to the IUI, because I have friends that have gone down the IVF, and I know that with IVF, you pay for a certain amount of treatments.
Yeah.
I think it's like 3 or 4. But if you go on the first, you've paid for those treatments. Is that the same with IUI? You pay 8.
Pretty much. Yeah. So So we paid in 3. So the first, you can pay for one individually and it's like $2,000, or you can buy a bundle of 3 for about $4,000. So we just went for the 3, then went for the other 3. With IVF though, it's like straight up front. So we've literally just had to pay for IVF.
So
and
it was going through IVF now then?
Yeah. So that's the next step, is that we're paying for IVF. We've just paid the amount for it. We've done all the tests and blood tests. And I've just actually received all my big box of hormone injections and tablets that I've got to take. It's a lot. There's a lot more to IVF, but the chances are higher.
I've got 2 questions to ask.
Go on.
The first one, obviously, there's 2 of you that can carry the child, that can play the mum role in the stereotypical word of mum.
Yeah.
How was the conversation between you 2 about who was going to take that journey?
To be honest, it was really easy. I think I've always wanted to carry. I've always, like, being a mum is like my number one goal. Like, I've always wanted to carry. And I think my age plays a part in it as well.
We'll ask you that question after like 2 years of being a mum.
Yeah, I know. I might change that opinion very soon. And I think because I was a bit older than Chloe. Chloe's 2 years younger than me. So it felt like I was in a better place in my body to carry the baby. And to be fair, Chloe's still not 100% sure if she wants to carry a child. So she's not made that decision yet. But I guess it's kind of lucky because I've always wanted to. So that was really easy. Some people that I know, both of them are desperate to carry the baby, and it can be quite difficult for you to pick which one does it. A lot of them take it in turns.
Next question. When you look at the financial side of things, have you never sat there and gone, fuck it, let's just go and get a donor with a turkey baster and save ourselves a fortune? That must have been a question at some point.
Yeah. I think it was after the 6 IUIs, and especially the one where we got to like 7.5 weeks, because we were so happy. We'd started planning how we were going to tell people, because basically at 7.5, 8 weeks, that's when you get your first scan to check the heartbeat. So we literally had it booked in. We had a day to go in. It was just before Christmas, and we were like, oh, Christmas Day, we're going to surprise everyone. We had it all planned. And when we got the bad news that obviously it wasn't anything anymore, there was a split second where I thought, do we just find someone online? There's so many like online sperm donor banks that they just send you like a vial of sperm. You pay like $2,000 for it. So it's still like a little bit expensive. And you just try it at home. But
have you ever thought about just asking somebody you know?
No, I don't think anyone I know would be up for that anyway, but I don't think I'd want that. I kind of like the fact that it's someone I've never met before. It's a bit anonymous, and it makes it feel like it's more me and Chloe rather than just someone I know that's kind of always knows that we're going to have his child. Do you know what I mean?
My question on that is, how does that? Obviously, you'll know people that have done that mine, the turkey based route. How does that work from the father's perspective then? Like, so let's say me, I go, right, I'm going to be a donor to, I don't know, Stacey over the road, right? Do I still have? You are.
You wouldn't be on the birth certificate.
No, but so that's what I'm saying. So what happens, right? If in 10 years' time, Stacey decides she wants to be straight, and she wants me to pay for the baby, is that a thing or not?
Well, legally, you're still the father.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there'd probably be some sort of. I mean, if you're not on the birth certificate, you don't have to pay because you're not on the. If I'm right, because you're not named on the birth certificate. Is that right?
I don't know.
You're just chatting shit now.
I don't know. I don't know if there's some form of like agreement you would sign between you all that you didn't.
You have to pay CSA if not on birth certificate UK. If an unwed father is not listed on the birth certificate, he has no legal rights to the child. This includes no obligation to paying child support and no rights to visitation, to custody or child support. If no father is listed on the birth certificate, the mother has sole legal rights and responsibility of the child.
I got the same screen up there.
Say again.
I got the same screen up then.
So if you obviously they wouldn't put you on a birth certificate, so you waive your rights to that child. But then I'm assuming you could fight to go on further down. You can fight and go through the courts. I think it would be because there are women out there that don't put dads on the birth certificate. Whole separate podcast.
Yeah.
And there are fathers have to fight for the right to change that, and that's when DNA tests and all that sort of stuff come in. Maybe.
To be fair, with IVF, they changed the law like 2 years ago. So if the kid, when they turn 18, wants to know who the dad is, they can. Which a lot of people are like, really? But yeah, they can know who the dad is by law.
Imagine that. Imagine going into a sperm bank 20 years ago and knocking one out and giving them the little vial of thing. And 20 years later, someone kid knocks on the door.
I know.
And like, Dad!
Well, that's so obviously you're going through IVF.
Yeah.
That could be a scenario that could happen to you.
Yeah. So we got asked by the counsellor, how would we feel if that actually happened? And that was probably the toughest question, because we don't know until you know. You would hope that if you raise the child well enough for those 18 years, it wouldn't ever long for its father or even think that it's his father because it's just a sperm donor, if that makes sense. It's a really weird one to...
Let's fast forward 10 years. IVF is successful round 1. Touching wood, that's the case.
Mm-hmm.
And you have it. And would you have a discussion? Have you and Chloe discussed? Are you going to explain to your child that they are a result of IVF?
Yeah.
Because obviously,
we got asked that same question as well.
Mum.
Yeah. We got asked that exact same question from the counsellor, and a lot of people struggle telling kids the truth, and they don't know at what age to start being open and honest about how they came into the world.
Yeah.
But no, we'd be open about it. Of course they will. We'd definitely be open about it, but it'd be different depending on how old they are and how much you want to tell them.
Concern on how other kids would treat your kid. Obviously,
I think it's harder. Like at primary school, I can only imagine. When I was in primary school, I don't remember ever there being a kid with two mums or two dads. I never saw it. I imagine now more kids are seeing it because there's a hell of a lot of mums and dads. But that is a worry. It is a worry, I think, when the kids are a bit older, like how will kids react? But I'm hoping by the time we have a kid and they get to primary age, high school age, that it becomes even more accepting than it is today, which I think it's definitely improving, but it's still got a way to go, I think.
See, the thing that I see with it, obviously my brother is gay. I have 2 children. I have a 7-year-old and a 9 next week. And they've grown up with a gay uncle. So to them, it is nothing. It is water.
Yeah.
They have no questions. And I can only put that into my childhood when I was younger. I grew up with a disabled uncle. He had spina bifida. So for me, disability was never a problem. I was very understanding and open to and stuff. And so I certainly hope that as time goes forward, that people are more understanding and accepting, and children learn that way through being part of it.
We just have to look at TV, right? TV is often a reflection of society.
Yeah.
And I remember being 16, you would never see 2 people kissing on telly. 2 men or 2 women kissing on telly. I remember when Queer as Folk came out and everyone was like, what?
I have no idea what that is.
Was a program that came out.
It was like Hollyoaks, but gay.
Ah, right.
You watch Queer as Folk?
Never heard of it.
It's got, Charlie Hunnam? Do you know Charlie Hunnam?
No. I probably do by looking at him, but not the name.
In,
Green Street.
Ah, the guys in Sons of Anarchy?
Yes.
Yeah.
He was in that. That was his first program.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He was in that.
I remember
but even that was, but I think when that came out, there was still a period where that was on, and then it stopped, and I think there was still a period where it still wasn't seen as much as it is now.
It's on like every soap now. There's always like a token gay relationship, and even like, I don't know, interviews on telly these days. It's so openly talked about now on TV.
No a token black dude.
I mean, there is still that, but
could you imagine the scary movie nowadays? From the token black guy to the token gay guy, or
well, the black guy used to always get killed first, so it's just going to be a.
No. But yeah, so do you think it's much better now, Hannah, than it was? Do you experience life better, do you think, now than people would have done 20 years ago?
Yeah, definitely. I don't know if I was this age 20 years ago, if that makes sense, whether it would have been this easy. Because to be fair, based on a lot of stories that other people have, my journey, or whatever you call it, has been pretty simple, pretty easy. But I think that's just because people talk about it more. You see it more, you hear about it more. There's always someone gay that you come into contact with on a daily basis, I'd say, whether that's at work or on TV. Do you know what I mean? So
your journeys for, obviously, you guys have Robert, who is openly gay and always been gay.
Yeah.
And Rachel, would you say that they would say the same thing? Obviously, you feel like you've had quite. I'm going to word this, quite an easy ride.
Mm-hmm.
In the journey of a gay person, would you say yours has been quite plain sailing?
Yeah.
Would you say that Rachel and Robert could say the same?
I don't know, I think Robert found it tough because he was still in Grantham at the time.
Small town.
That's
where I am now. That's where
right.
I am. So that's how I know Robert through.
Yeah.
I know.
I think when he moved to Manchester, he became more himself because it was more accepted.
I remember I used to have a shop, and Robert would come in and chat to him, and I know that I'm sure I remember rightly that he got beaten up once.
Yeah.
Brutally beaten up for being gay.
Yeah.
And then I, he was on my social media, and then I saw him go to Manchester, and that's when he flourished.
Mm-hmm.
That's when so when that happened, I went to pick him up. I picked him up and we moved into Manchester.
Yeah, really.
He stayed with me for a month or two.
Yeah,
I stayed on I had a 1-bedroom apartment. He's on my sofa for a bit until he managed to find somewhere to live.
So because I know my brother, from my understanding, has had it quite easy as such, and they live. Him and his partner live together.
Mm-hmm.
Andrew, like I said, Andrew's part of the family. He is, we absolutely adore him and keep making jokes.
I think that's a lot to do with the family because Chloe's family were just as accepting. Had her family been less so, it would have been a much harder struggle for me, I think. But literally, they couldn't have welcomed me more. They almost treat me like their third daughter because Chloe's also got another sister.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it's been easy for me, because the family that I became part of accepted me with open arms. And a lot of people, that's not the case. A lot of people are shunned away. I
don't think Andrew's family are fully knowledgeable in parts. It's not openly a conversation we've had. But I'm sure I'll find that out now. Yeah, I'm sure there's parts of his family that don't and that. So yeah, it must be tough.
No, I was just going to say on sort of same. Obviously, the law changed. We just talking about last 20 years. Obviously, the law changed in terms of same-sex marriage and allowing that. Obviously, there are some churches that won't allow same-sex marriage.
Discretionary at churches, I think, at the moment.
Yeah, what's your view on that?
I was buzzing when it happened. Don't get me wrong, and you started to see the movement across different countries. And for me, being married is a really important thing. No. We're at the moment looking at wedding venues, and we want to get married in the next couple of years. We're engaged at the moment.
Can we do a podcast live from your wedding?
You are?
Can we do a podcast live from your wedding?
If you want to. If you want to. But we definitely do want to get married. And the fact that you can legally now get married as a same-sex couple is huge. It's still mad that there's some parts of the world that isn't a possibility. But it is huge for us. I mean, we're not necessarily bothered about getting married in a church. And to be fair, I don't think myself or Chloe are that keen to get married in a church, because a church still, to me, feels very traditional, man, woman. You know, it just doesn't feel like the most accommodating place for two girls to be getting married, which is why we would choose a place like, at the moment, we're looking at different converted barns, which have like a civil ceremony room. And that feels more us, because you're not kind of forcing it on a church that still might not be 100% up for it. Do you know what I mean? We just don't want that conversation. But no, it's definitely a step in the right direction, that's for sure.
Yeah. You know, Texas still has places where you can be refused service for being
really
gay.
Yeah, but Texas is a backwards.
Yeah, Texas is bad for all sorts.
I will not have you talking bad about my future home of.
Oh, please! You're not moving to Texas.
You can piss off there. We won't miss you. You and your backwards.
I won't visit.
I
won't be able to.
No,
you can. You just not allowed to bring your
I can't do anything. Yeah.
Just have your hair down, act good.
Hannah, has there been any frustrations that you felt since coming out? Like I say, been treated differently, or is there anything that you've really struggled with about coming out, other than telling, obviously, family?
I think the only, not really,
the child situation, obviously.
That's one of the hardest things at the moment, because it would have been so easy as a straight couple we know straight couples that are trying, and after a few months of trying, they've got their great news, and all our friends are at the same age now where they're all trying. Chloe's family friends are the same. A couple of them have got pregnant this year, and a couple of my friends have got pregnant this year. And you see it all around, all these straight couples getting pregnant, and you just feel like, oh my God, this is going to take us forever. It's really that's probably the hardest thing, because you know it's going to happen, but you just don't know when, and you'd have to just be really patient with it. Outside of that, no, it was mostly at the start of my journey, and not being able to tell mum before she passed was probably the biggest challenge that I had at the time.
How do you think she would have reacted to it?
I don't know. I think she would have struggled. It's a weird one, I think, because
I honestly think the same.
I think she would have really struggled.
Like, I don't know how close you guys were to your mum.
I mean, I was ridiculously close with mum. She
was the golden child.
I knew you were going to say this, but without sounding really cocky though, but I was. I was, and mum had a plan laid out for me. She was like, Hannah's going to be the one that excels in school. She needs to go to university and get a degree. Like, all these things that she had in her mind for me, I just did, because I just wanted to make her happy, and I went to uni for her. And I don't know, if I'd have told her that I was gay or seeing a girl, I think she would have really struggled to come to terms with it.
I think your relationship would have.
And that's why, well, it's difficult, because at the last couple of years of her life, she was non-verbal, so she couldn't speak. Yeah. So I could have said it, but I would have never known how she reacted to it. So that's why I never said anything, because I just didn't want her to feel really bad about it when she didn't need to think about that.
How, obviously, I know Mark has mentioned about the situation with your mum and stuff, and her illness. Prior to, I don't know the timelines of your mum's illness and your change of preference. I don't know.
Yeah.
you know, when you flipped and just jump teams. Was with your mum's non-verbal? Was that a chunk of the way into your relationship with Chloe, or
no?
Was there a time like when you started dating? That's a better way of putting it. You and Chloe have started dating. Could you have told your mum that moment, and would you have been able to have a conversation with her?
No. So by the time me and Chloe had started seeing each other seriously, our mum didn't speak. She couldn't really move or anything. So we wouldn't have been able to have a conversation. But it's weird, though, because I never told her while she was alive. But as soon as she'd passed, you know, when you get to see, I don't want it to sound really morbid, but where you get to see her the day before the funeral in like the open casket, we kind of all went in on our own to say like our last few words. And I came out to her there.
Yeah.
And I just felt like I had to. I felt like I had to say it.
Sense of relief.
Yeah. I felt like I had to say to her, look, this is me. I'm happy. I know that you just want me to be happy. Yeah, it was a really surreal moment, but I only felt comfortable telling her then. And I never felt comfortable telling her before then.
You'll
get to see her again, mate.
You are?
You'll get to see her again.
Do you feel like, obviously we're talking about frustrations, if you could have a redo your whole life, do you think you would have, and if you could do a rerun of your life, but you know where you are in your journey now, would you have come out earlier and experimented or gone down taken that path earlier, or do you think
no,
with the route that you've gone through, and that's how you are where you are?
Because I was with a guy in a serious relationship when mum could speak, because she met Gabriel a couple of times. He came to visit her in a care home for a few times. Yeah, the guy that Mark actually liked, that you forgot about. He came to visit her and she spoke to him, and so she knew him. And at the time, I wasn't thinking of anything other than I wanted to be with this guy for the rest of my life, because that's what I thought it was going to be. So it was only really after a couple of years after that where I got with Chloe, and mum had just deteriorated. So it was weird timing, I think. But I don't know how confident I would have been had she still been able to speak and have a proper conversation with me, for me just to have said, by the way, I'm with a girl now. I don't know if I could have ever had that conversation, which is mad, because I think, well, what would have happened to me and Chloe if she'd have never passed? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just couldn't ever imagine having that conversation with her.
Well, that would have been, I can imagine. I mean, you've got this close relationship with your mum. You're concerned, and if you know, if this was a situation where she could have had the conversation with you, that's put pressure on you and Chloe. Like, so I can imagine that being.
Yeah, because I guess you see in many instances where the parents aren't happy.
Yeah.
And that can cause. I don't know if it would ever cause a problem as much as it would split them up, but it would certainly cause a problem in some instances in the relationship with their parents.
You see parents completely ostracize their children and disown them for their choice. I say choice. That's not even the right word to use. It's not a choice, because they have comfortably accepted who they are and their preference.
Would you be cool with your children being gay, Martin?
Absolutely. 100%. Like I said, as long as they don't fuck kids or animals, I don't give two fucking hoots. I really don't care. End of the day, as long as like I said to my brother, as long as you're happy and you are comfortable with who you are, I am happy. I've met both. He's had 2 relationships. I've met both of them, and I was accepting. You know, I made gay jokes to my brother when he was little, and I still make them now. You know, just that's just the older brother ribbing that you do. But I'd have no problem with it. I'd have no problem with my children if both girls, if they came out and they said they were lesbian. Crack on. That's your choice. Yeah. What about you, Marco?
Yeah. This is where.
We talked ages ago about your about Nala coming home with his nails.
So this is my honest take on it. I would rather he wasn't, and it isn't really for any other reason. So, like, growing up coloured, right, is hard.
It's hard enough as it is.
You'll know, Hannah. Like, some of the stigmas and the looks and the way that people treat you growing up as a person who isn't white in this country is a challenge, right? Now, Leo won't have that challenge because he's white. My little boy is white. But I can appreciate and understand the same. Not that I'm not equating being black to being gay, but it's a challenge, right?
Yeah.
So
it's harder.
It's much harder. So as a parent, do I want him to have the same struggles growing up? No. And it's like, put it this way: is life more difficult for gay? I think it's easier for women, but for gay men,
I think it's harder for gay men.
In this country, is life more difficult or easier for gay men than straight men? It's much easier as a straight man.
You know what?
Mm-hmm.
I completely. When you see two women kissing, men don't frown upon it, and women don't frown upon it. When you see two gay men kissing, men can feel uncomfortable by it. So I can understand that perception. I think the better question to ask you is not how would you feel? You would obviously accept Nardo. You'd have no problem with your relationship wouldn't change with Nardo or anything like that.
No, he's my one and only. So that's all I've got, right?
Yeah.
But
I think that's better
but it isn't my preference. That's just the truth.
To be fair, I personally, on that side of it, I would like my children. Well, then actually, my girls can have children. So it's irrelevant, really, because obviously I want my children to have children.
Yeah.
I experience.
Yeah.
My children.
And that's it for me. Like Carly doesn't want any more kids, so I've got one shot, right? So one shot at the traditional grandkids, the marriage, the daughter. I do want all that.
Yeah.
And I've got enough. There's no do over. So we've got one chance.
But and I suppose the difference, thankfully, in your situation, Hannah, is that you can have a child. And that child will have your genetics.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, not Chloe's.
But it's an option, though. That's I guess the advantage of, or I guess the less challenging part of two girls being together is that there's procedures with IVF that have just my eggs, and it would have my DNA, and I would carry. Or there's also procedures where if my eggs were a problem, I could then have Chloe's eggs, and I could still carry the baby, but it would have Chloe's DNA and all that. So I feel like girls have more options of being able to have their own family, whereas with guys, it's very limited. You've got a surrogate option. Again, that's very expensive, and it can be quite a difficult journey for a lot of guys that want a family.
I have gay couple friends from Jersey, and they adopted. They went down the adoption route, and they thankfully adopted a child that was very young and stuff, so they could experience. But I want my girls to have what I've had, that bonds, that connection, and I have two little girls that your life changes, and you'll find this out. You will find this out, and Marco, will attest to it. Like your life changes, your perception on everything changes. The moment that little bundle's put in your hands, you look at the world so differently. Everything is just different in an amazing way. I mean, today I could have throttled the pair of them, but I wouldn't change them for the world. So it's like you say, Marco, in your sense, you want, I can understand that side of things.
Yeah. Well, look, guys, that's coming. That's the end of the podcast. Hannah,
and here's our big reveal. Marco, tell the news. No.
What was that?
I just wondered if you were going to do the big reveal about you coming out now.
that horse bolted, mate.
I'm sure Michael Barrymore said that at one point.
Yeah, never. There's a tip for you: never party with Barrymore.
Well, didn't someone end up dead in a pool?
Yeah.
God.
But he didn't do it. It wasn't him. So
yeah, apparently not.
Yeah. Anyway, don't know how we got into that.
On that note.
Appreciate you coming on, Hannah, talking to us about this. We do like to, obviously the podcast is Nobody Cares About Dad. It is predominantly a man's podcast, but we have done different topics. We've done ones about cheating. We've done mixed couples. Obviously now we talked about being gay. So we do want to talk about.
It's a diverse podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Diverse.
Yeah. We want to, but look, it's two dads talking to an openly gay lady about things. We have different opinions. We have our opinions on it. But it's nice to, it's good. It's good to talk to and hear it from the other side of the fence. You know, we're not gay and we're not female, so we can't have an opinion on it.
Well, thanks for having me on.
No worries.
It's been a pleasure.
Peace.
Nice one. Bye, guys.